Okay. Hey, everybody. Okay. My name is Jatwasha. I have decided to do my very first Instagram live by demonstrating a DIY or at home YoniSteam. Okay. So I originally started this video on my personal page. So I've already started the process. I just decided to kind of start all over here on this page. Okay. So the first thing that I've done is brought I've brought 8 cups of water to a boil. Anytime that you're doing a yoni steam, you want to make sure that you're not using utensils and pots that have different coatings in them, or plastic or paints or different things like that. You know how we like to use the fancy utensils in the kitchen, but when you're doing your yoni steam, you want to use the most pure, authentic, and organic materials as possible. So this is a stainless steel pot, but I'm actually going to change it over to this pot once I start doing my steam, because I thought I was going to do it a different way, but I'm going to use my pot to do my steam in, my big pot. If I was going to do it the other way, I was going to use not this particular size bowl, but a pure glass bowl. I have one a whole lot bigger than this, and I was going to use my glass. But I'll talk about little ways that you can alter how you do your at-home steam, while making it economical, simple, and easy. Okay, so I have my water to a boil. It's actually done boiling. I turned the water off. Like I said, I'm going to transfer this over to this pot, but I'm going to start with my herbs. When I get in there and sit on my steam, I can go through each of the herbs that I have in my mix. But this is my personal stash that I have for myself. I've been doing yoni steams for the past 4 years, and so I just finally decided that I would like to share my experience and share it with everybody else, and hope that you get the same type of benefits that I get from yoni steaming. But this is my little stash, so I'm going to do 1 full cup of my herbs. I also add in a tablespoon of pink Himalayan sea salt, and then and sometimes you can do apple cider vinegar. You can add that to your water as well. A lot of these herbs are catered to what you're trying to achieve. So my cycle is going to be coming on in the next day or two. So I definitely love to steam before my cycle, and I definitely love to steam 2 days after my cycle has cleared away. So of course, steaming prior to your cycle is going to help with different things like cramping. It's going to even if you have a sketchy cycle, it can make you have a full, cycle. Yeah, it might make you bleed longer than you would probably desire. So if you're a person that's having short cycles, or you're not having cycles at all, this steam, certain steams can help. Different herbs that are added that can help promote a healthy cycle. Or if you're a type of person like me who has very heavy cycles, I should say, not necessarily long, but my cycles are pretty heavy in my opinion. It not only cuts down my cycle days, but it can also make my cycle, the hemorrhaging aspect of it, a whole lot more bearable and normal in a sense. I don't know what's normal, but I just feel like my cycles aren't so dramatic since I've started steaming, especially if I'm doing it consistently every month. You can do your steams twice a month, like I said, one time before your cycle and then after your cycle. So I'm going to go ahead and add these herbs to my pot. Let me see if I can do this. Must be multitasking right now with this phone in my head. I'm not used to doing this. Like I said, this is my first Instagram live. And be careful when you first put your herbs in, because sometimes it can steam or boil over. Just be careful. And then I'm adding my sea salt, my pink sea salt. I do about a tablespoon of the pink sea salt. I left my spoon. So like I said, when it comes to the materials that you use, make sure that they are pure. Don't use anything plastic. Don't use anything like this when you know, has a rubber tip. I wouldn't use definitely wouldn't use anything like this, or definitely would never use anything like this when I'm doing my steams. I always use my wooden spoon. I use this all the time when I'm mixing my herbs. So here we go. Okay, there we go. So I'm just gonna stir them, get them, you know, going a little bit in the pot. I got this little cute filter. I think this filter is so cute, but it's probably not the most I don't want to say accurate, but you know, it kind of like alters how things look. So maybe when I come back, I will just use a plain little thing so you can see it organically. Okay, so now that I've added my herbs to the hot water, I do like my steams pretty warm. I have a pretty high pain tolerance, so I don't mind the steaminess of it. I'm saying so, but for other people, you want to make sure that it's not too hot. So what they tell us to do is when we check in temperatures, like when we have, you know, after you've given birth and you warming up the formula in the bottle, tells you to test the temperature on your wrist. That's what I would do. I will put my wrist over it. And actually, ooh, can you see? Okay, it's actually not even that hot to me because I can really bear, you know, I could really take that. So that might not be so accurate because sometimes it can be really, really warm when you're sitting over your herbs. So let me go ahead, let that steep. So I'm going to let this steep for about 10 to 15 minutes. I usually just let that steep while I'm preparing the area that I'm going to steam in, whether that's pouring me a glass of my tea, actually getting my area together, maybe if I'm going to journal or read or something, getting those materials in my area, basically setting up my area while I steam, setting up my area prior to steaming while I let the herbs steep. Seemed like I wanted to mention one more thing. I'm also going to talk about I have this recipe that I'm definitely would love people to try it when I don't know what just happened. It's good for I want people to sample. This is an actual raspberry leaf lemonade. Raspberry leaf tea lemonade. I make this from scratch, straight brewing the raspberry leaf teas. I add lemonade. I add lemon and limes. I do sweeten it. Now it's not what you would call a healthy sweetener, but it's pure cane sugar. Sugar in the raw. That's what it is. It's the sugar in the raw that I use. So it is sugar in here, but I guess because it's not, you know, white sugar, processed white sugar, I feel like it's a little bit more healthier, but you're still going to get the benefits of this tea regardless if it has a lot of sugar. Now, if you're watching your sugar intake or if you have diabetes or something like that, then you do want to be a little bit more cautious when drinking this. If you're going to sample my little brew. But if you're making it at home, you can sweeten it with whatever type of sweeteners that, you know, you use in your home. I could do a video on how I make it. It's not hard. I do brew my raspberry leaf. I make sure I brew the herbs for at least 8 hours or more. And I actually do not dilute it with water. I just add in my simple syrup of the sugar in the raw, stir it up, add my lemons, fresh squeezed lemons, fresh squeezed lime. The lime actually can also act not just as a flavor enhancer, but it actually works as a preservative. So I jar them up like this, nice tight seal container. I actually have, when I make it, I do make a lot, so it lasts me. Here's my other one I have in here. It lasts me a week. That's probably a week. I drink like a cup a day. And then what I also like to do, it tastes so good too. What I also like to do is add fresh frozen, or you can't see that they're raspberry, but fresh frozen raspberries. I like to add that in there too. It tastes so good. And then of course, everything tastes better when you put it in a mason jar. Okay, so I'm so corny. And then you have to have your straw. So let me get my area together, and then I'll come back and show you different. I can show you different setup options right now. As a matter of fact, hold on. But I wanted to change this filter, so let me see. Let me see if I could change it while I'm on here. Oh, okay, there we go. Yeah, let that steep. Okay, so let's see. So different options. I hope it's not too dark in here. Let me turn it around. Okay, I'm not gonna turn it around. So you have different options for steaming. You can definitely steam. You can squat over your bowl. Make sure you have yourself covered to keep the steam in. That's a simple way to squat. It can be uncomfortable because if you're, you know what I'm saying, if you're not that athletic or if you have bad knees, that can be uncomfortable when you're steaming for 15 plus minutes. Okay. So, but you definitely can just be straight, you know, organic and squat over the pot, you know, and get it done like that. More comfortable ways. I have here a wood crate. So what I do, oh, no, I don't want that filter. Okay. What I do is sit over the crate. So you're going to have your pot right here. You have your crate that you're sitting over. You can squat like this. Now, it is very important that... Ooh. Okay, let's see. Okay. Well, I say, do I want to take my prom? Press hold and take your prom photos. No, darling. I don't want to take no prom photo. Okay. I lost my train of thought. Okay. So it's important that you do have your legs wide in the squat position, because what that's doing is when you're sitting in this type of position, or if you're squatting on your knees, that is actually a really good yoga position or a good yoga stretch. And what it does is it opens up your pelvic, and it actually opens up your hips, and it takes that pressure off of your hips. These positions are actually stress relieving positions because they do take the stress off of your hip area. Okay. So it's actually beneficial if you're comfortable enough, if you can find a nice crate like this and squat over it. This is actually a very ideal position to be able to steam in. Second thing that I would do, now when I first started steaming, of course I just used a regular cotton blanket cover to cover myself. But we know, women, ladies, that cotton absorbs moisture. So when we're steaming, we don't want the cotton to absorb our YoniSteam. We want to absorb that YoniSteam. So what the thought is to use something that is satin or silk that's not going to absorb the moisture, and it's also going to keep the moisture in. It's the same way like with wearing panties. You want to wear cotton panties to absorb the moisture. You know, doctors shy upon, you know, wearing satin or anything like that, because what it does is going to hold that moisture in. But when it comes to yoni steaming, we definitely want a satin cover to keep that moisture in, that heat, that steam in, and let it be concentrated over our yoni area while we're steaming. Okay. Other ways that you can steam that are actually more comfortable and easy. Might not be more, it might not be the ideal, but you can also steam in your toilet, over your toilet, or in your toilet. So in that case, you do have to use plastic. We know what this is. So this is like a basin that you usually get from the hospital. What I would do is take this basin, put it in the toilet bowl. Put it in the toilet bowl. Then that's the point where you would take your herbs and put it in that glass bowl that I was talking about. You would put it either in a glass bowl or you could put it in a stainless steel bowl. You put the herbs and the water actually in that glass or that stainless steel bowl, and then you put that bowl in here, and then you put your toilet seat down. Make sure you cleanse it and, disinfect it so you're comfortable. You sit on your toilet, and then you wrap yourself up with your satin, and then you steam. It's very comfortable because you're sitting on the toilet. You're not, it's not a lot of stress in your knees. You're in the privacy of your bathroom. But you know what? When I'm steaming the bathroom, I feel like it's a more thorough steam because it's a closed in environment. And so I feel